Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Holiday weekend here. I've been sitting on this article from Vulture, Weird Al, on the best and most obsessive music of his career. I haven't actually looked at this. Song that legitimized Al's career. Al says, "Eat It." Al says, "My first album did well enough to merit the record company rolling the dice on album number 2. It had a couple of minor hits like Ricky. I own that on 45. And I Love Rocky Road. They appeal to, I suppose, hardcore comedy nerds. But when you add Michael Jackson to the equation, all of a sudden it becomes a much bigger fan base. Eat It was an international hit and completely changed my life overnight." Now, as we dive in on Weird Al here, and I have other things today, this isn't a Weird Al episode. I've appreciated the evolution of Al's musicality over the years, so I'll just point out right now, when he sings Eat It, he does a very stylized Eat It kind of delivery on the chorus, whereas if you listen to the more modern stuff, he's using, I assume, his natural voice, and Al's a pretty good singer. Song parody Al was most nervous to pitch: The Saga Begins, his parody of American Pie about Star Wars. Al told Vulture, "Everybody was telling me there's no way Don McLean's going to prove that. He gets approached all the time. He turns everybody down." Al figured it never hurts to ask. "Weirdest song, even for you, Weird Al." Al says, "Jackson Park Express," which is one of my favorites. That's one of Al's favorites, not one of my favorites. It was the last song on the Mandatory Fun album. It's about a bus ride, which I thought was a fitting bookend because one of my very first songs was Another One Rides the Bus. Here's the last song on what was probably my last album, and it's like the dark side of James Blunt's You're Beautiful. It's this whole conversation a guy has in his head after seeing a woman on the bus. Gets into some really weird and dark areas. Yeah, I'm sad Al doesn't make albums anymore. He puts out the occasional single, but he just kind of stopped. And that last album was fantastic. Most surprising response to a parody? Al says White and Nerdy, which arguably is Al's masterpiece. I have a Weird Al playlist I just made in my phone. Let me pull that up. And I kept this tight on purpose. My playlist, Weird Al 25, has Jurassic Park, which is just amazing. And I've been watching the Jurassic Park movie, so it's been in my head. But that is a great parody of a song called MacArthur Park that I think has gotten largely forgotten. Smells Like Nirvana, awesome, great video. I Lost on Jeopardy, on point. Fat, Amish Paradise, White and Nerdy, and Dog Eat Dog. Those are, I only put... And now you know I was also listening to Van Halen. Got a little clip of Runaround there from, what is that, from Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. I hate the title of that album. Anyway, back to Weird Al. Can you tell it's a holiday weekend? Weird Al said, "My favorite was Chameleonaire, who aided my parody of his song Ridin' Dirty. He came up to me on the red carpet of the Grammys shortly after winning Best Rap Song. He said I was partly responsible for him winning the Grammy because my parody made it undeniable that his was the rap song of the year. Song with the highest stakes." Al says, "Smells Like Nirvana. It was my first comeback, as it were, because my movie UHF came out in 1989 and bombed. I almost did another Michael Jackson parody because I was reaching that point of desperation, and then Nirvana came along. I was back on MTV and touring again. That was the point when I realized a good long career has peaks and valleys, and you can't get too depressed when you're in a valley or too full of yourself when you're at the peak." Music video that elevated the medium, Weird Al says, Amish Paradise. "I'm very proud of the backward sequence at the end. I'm certainly not the first person to think of recording something backward for a music video, but it was something that took a lot of work and effort to get the logistics figured out. Weird Al's pitch to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to do the right thing and induct him. I agree." He says, "I think if they're ever going to pick a comedic entry, I'd like to think I'd be considered for that. If they pick another accordion-playing parody writer ahead of me, I'd be upset." Colin Quinn is up in Saratoga, New York today. He'll be doing a benefit for the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, a nonprofit that helps 9/11 families, first responders, and military veterans with housing. Speaking of 9/11, I was, so I'm a New Yorker, and I was in New York City, in Manhattan, on 9/11, looking out the window from WR Radio at the towers burning with my own eyes. Now, I was on 40th Street. So if you're hip to New York City, I don't want to make it sound like 40th Street was across the street from the Twin Towers. And I try to explain to my kids, you'll see stuff on the news where, like, they'll describe things as, like, near Times Square, and it might be half a mile from Times Square, which technically is near Times Square, but distances in New York City are great. Like, if you're, like, 7 blocks from Times Square, not very far if you're a bird, but in terms of, like, New York City-ness, that's a long way away. Anyway, so I was in New York. I was looking at the towers. Tell that story for another day. I was a little, not taken aback, but I was just like, oh, okay. watching Kill Tony the other night when they just dropped some 9/11 jokes like it was nothing at Madison Square Garden. But again, there are people who are now, I mean, you know, if you were born in 2001, you're 24 years old, so you might be 30 and really not have any memory of 9/11, or a little less than 30, I guess. But you know what I'm saying? Just time moves on. Like, I don't cringe when I hear a Pearl Harbor joke or a Kennedy joke, so I get it. But it was just like, oh, all right, it's 2025 now. Anyway, Colin Quinn is doing a benefit for the families. He told Saratoga Living, "I've done Tunnel to Towers things a lot. It's a great cause. Everybody from the city knew a few people that died on 9/11. That is true. It's amazing. Everybody knew somebody. And also everybody seemed to know someone with a story like, oh, I was on my way to work, but, I stopped at CVS, or I normally would have been on that train, but my kid had a back to school thing at 8:30 in the morning. You heard a lot of stories like that. Colin, do you get into politics in a set like this? Colin Quinn said, I do. Everything is politics now. There's no area that politics doesn't enter the national conversation, because the national conversation is everybody running their mouth online at all times. So whatever you say, there's people having an opinion on it. A lot of my stuff is how we think now because of social media and how insane we all really are. A lot of it is about the space program and AI and stuff like that, where we're going as people. Most people come to see me know I'm not doing a lot of sex jokes or stuff like that. They don't expect to be in a party atmosphere. I'm not the kind of guy that's fun for people that are drunk. I've never been, and I'm less and less that guy the older I get. If you want to sit in a very uncomfortable chair with a hard back laughing intermittently based on your hearing, then I'm the one to see. Do you like Saturday Night Live? Well, get this one on your radar for the middle of September. UT Austin's Harry Ransom Center is hosting Live from New York, the Lorne Michaels Connection, a deep dive into 50 years of comedy, satire, and pop culture shaped by Lorne Michaels. Based on Gary Kroger's comments the other day, more like 45 years. We'll see if there's a Gary Kroger exhibit. This collection is from Lorne Michaels stuff, and it features annotated scripts, production notes, rare photos, famous props like the cowbell, the Five Timers Club jacket, Sinead O'Connor's ripped Pope photo, and costumes from Matt Foley and the Church Lady. It's free. It runs through March 20th of next year. It kicks off with a student-faculty preview on September 19th. Coffee and snacks included. For those guys, not for you. You can't get in until September 20th. Well, unless you're a student, you're listening to me, in which case, hi. Conan O'Brien was on the Back to the Best podcast. I'm not familiar with that one. He was asked about the first major celebrity party he attended. Conan said it was the SNL 15th anniversary, which happened when Conan was in his 20s. We are all getting old. He said, that was my first time seeing an insane number of celebrities in one small space. Prince was there, and he had just done the Batman soundtrack. I remember being in a crowded hallway, and he was standing right next to me, the most perfect-looking person you'd ever seen in your life. Conan also remembered John Bon Jovi came to an SNL party when he was the biggest thing in the world. It was like 1988, and he came, and I remember he's wearing like a leather buckskin cool outfit. Just so cool. Brad Williams is going to be working on a special. He wants people to come out and help him try out his new material. As for inspiration for bits, he said, I never know what's going to strike me. My ears are always open. He said each show is different. If you saw me a year ago, it's a different show. But he won't talk politics. I don't like half the audience to hate me based on who I voted for. So I want to make sure everyone, no matter who you voted for, can come out and have a good time and kind of escape that. As for trying out material, he said that's the beautiful part of stand-up crowds. You don't know if it works till you try it out. Might he bomb? It definitely happens. I have friends who are like, what if you bomb? Well, you're going to bomb. I've been doing it long enough. I look at it as a math problem. 2 + 2 didn't equal 4 tonight. I don't get mad. I just kind of go back to the lab and figure it out. Sebastian Maniscalco is going to get off the road, and what's he going to do? He said, I'm going to get back into golf. He told Billboard, I went golfing. I did it in Las Vegas when I was performing there. I want to do some golfing. And then I'm taking my mother to Italy for her 80th birthday. She always wanted to go to the Amalfi Coast, so we're taking her there. Then I definitely want to start cooking again because it's very relaxing for me. I've got so many recipes that I've saved on Instagram that I want to try out. Everybody likes when I make steak. People go, well, how hard is it to make steak? You just cook it. But I put it in the oven for, write this down, everybody, 45 minutes at 275. I let it rest for 15 minutes. I do a sear, 2 minutes on each side. Just a good helping of pepper and salt on it. No sauce, no nothing. I just started making mashed potatoes, which turned out fantastic when I added a little garlic, which wasn't in the recipe. Nothing where it'd be like, oh, I do this thing where it takes 8 hours to prepare. I'll do a pasta dish with oil and some garlic and a little parsley on top, cheese, maybe a little branzino, salt, pepper, stick it in the oven, squeeze a little lemon or oil on it. Simple. That's your comedy news for today. Normal episode tomorrow. The foot's not all the way on the gas on a holiday weekend. You know what I'm saying, especially it's a slow news week type of year. But yeah, this was fun. See you tomorrow.